Hello everyone, welcome to another day in this The Clown Decade, the decade where things are only going to get worse before they get better. And today it is more Politics Joe Vox Pops. This time we are looking at the never-ending battle that comes between pro-Palestinian and pro-Israeli people here in the United Kingdom. These are protests that have been going on in major cities, but most famously within London, for over a year. And it has been an open secret that Jews basically don't go out to London on Saturdays because of it. They were quite mad at the start, but they appear to have simmered down over the course of the year. However, people still go out to all these protests and, well, we may as well listen to what Politics Joe had to ask them, so let's get into it.
So my costume is a representation of what Keir Starmer is, which is a sausage.
Okay, interesting start. Very serious people, this is a very serious protest.
365 days of children and innocent men and women being butchered.
Oh, good Lord, Humza Yousaf, how have you not been humiliated enough to just never show your face in public again? But seriously, this is a line that I just cannot accept anymore. I do not accept this line. I barely accepted it at the start, but I just do not accept it anymore. It's modern warfare. These people are being used by Hamas as human shields. Basically, this entire war is just for Hamas to try and get good PR. And the only people falling for it are idiots. Like in the video yesterday, people who can't see with any critical thinking skills beyond 2 days ahead or behind. Effectively what this war has entirely come down to, and I really do mean this, is just, do you hate Jews or not? If you hate Jews, you seem to be pro-Palestine. If you don't, then obviously you're pro-Israel or just don't care either way. It's also a really good litmus test, from what I can tell, of whether you're pro-British or not. Palestinian side seem to absolutely hate Britain, and I don't think that is a coincidence.
70,000 Israelis have had to evacuate their homes, and the world had nothing to say.
I mean, that's just true as well. October the 7th happened, and the number one source of news was effectively the Noel MacDonald tweet of, oh, all these Israelis have died, won't someone please think of these innocent Palestinians? This is why I'm kind of okay with Douglas Murray focusing so much on it, because it really has been a completely one-sided report when it comes to Israel-Palestine. Even the BBC was accused. It's been reported pretty much everywhere outside the BBC that the BBC are really biased in reporting the Palestinian and Israeli news, that they're so pro-Palestinian that everyone noticed without the study going into it. I don't blame the Israeli side for being really annoyed at that and getting passionate about it, because all this reporting is really one-sided. Hell, even when Israel blew up all the pages on Hezbollah, all anyone on the left could be bothered reporting was that, oh, that might have killed some kids, or that could have caused collateral damage. As if anyone cares. Like, these pages were exclusively used by Hezbollah members. Obviously, collateral damage is bad. However, Israel are currently at war with about 3 separate countries, one of them being Iran. You know, forgive me for not caring if there's a bit of collateral damage in their retaliation.
Sack them all! Sack!
Yes, very, very pleasant. I've got to say, the pro-Palestinian side so far hasn't convinced me that they're in any way worth listening to. One woman dressed as Keir Starmer as a sausage, another one's Humza Yousaf, and another one just said F them all. This isn't doing wonders for their PR. I don't know why Politics Joe do this. They are happy to have swear words in, but when they're doing the subtitles, for some reason they bleep the swear words. I don't understand why they do that, but again, so far, this video, all these clips, Israeli side, perfectly reasonable. Okay, we've only seen one so far. But everyone we've seen on the pro-Palestine side seem either very standoffish or are idiots. One of them is a confirmed idiot, given these Humza Yousaf. Anyway, carry on.
Can you tell us what's happening right now between the protest and the counter-protest?
Yeah, so you've got the pro-Palestinian protesters on that side. You've got a line of stewards here. Obviously, what happens is you've got pro-Palestinian protesters that get a bit provoked by these Israeli protesters.
Oh, every time. Every time. Every time, it's like, oh, aren't you provoking them? Aren't we provoking the pro-Palestinian protesters by counter-protesting? It's unbelievable. Every time there is a leftist protest, if there's ever any violence, it's, oh, well, what provoked it? Best example ever. I know this is in America, but this was the exact excuse, and I still hear the excuse to this day with Kyle Rittenhouse of, oh, he was provoking them by being there with a gun. I have to explain to these people, all Kyle Rittenhouse was doing was standing outside a store he was asked to help defend with a gun. That's all that happened, and obviously I have to explain to people in Britain that that's just quite a normal thing to do in America, obviously because of your much more liberal gun laws. But long story short, he did absolutely nothing wrong, and these crazy people just went up to him and antagonised him, and eventually did attack him, hence he had to kill 2 of them and shoot another one in the arm. The one he didn't kill, by the way, literally aiming a pistol at his head. Like, Kyle Rittenhouse is absolutely beyond lucky to be alive. Not just entirely down to luck, also down to his, frankly, deadly aim and quick reactions. But I don't want to get sidetracked on that, I covered that years ago. But you can see what I mean by the, oh, doing perfectly normal, rational things is provoking the other side. No, it's not provoking. They are just crazy. That is all it comes down to, and you are excusing that, and that is unacceptable.
So we've got a line of people who support the cause who are telling these people to calm down because it's not worth it. That's what these people come here for. They come here to piss you off.
I mean, when he said there's a line of stewards, I assumed that he meant the police. I don't know if he means the police. I doubt he does if he's saying that they support the cause. But if they do, then that is the police once again not doing their job properly. It's like when the police are at Pride events and they're going around dancing, trying to draw rainbows on people's faces. You're there in a professional capacity. You should not be doing that. But either way, if the excuse they're using is, oh, this is not going to help your cause, I can't imagine that they're policemen. But either way, again, he's trying to use the excuse of, oh, well, it's the Israelis trying to provoke a reaction. No, they're out there saying, please return the hostages, we want peace as well. Unfortunately, there's not going to be peace while you want the complete destruction of Israel, which is what they shout about every time.
That's their only cause. Like, you look there, we've got a Pakistani flag, which is a Muslim country, with the Israeli flag, and obviously the guy that's holding it, he's not Pakistani, he's not Muslim. It's just there to trigger you.
I mean, I have no idea. I can barely see the guy who was waving the flag. It may well be a Pakistani who is on Israel's side because he wants to actually integrate into Britain, which I know is a weird sentence to say, but just go along with it. And no, you are using it as an excuse to get rowdy. That's all this is. Stop excusing your side from violent behaviour. I don't excuse violent behaviour ever, because it is obviously not acceptable. So you should stop doing it too.
So you can't fall for it, you can't fall for the rage bait.
I mean, again, it's just so one-sided. Do you not think it's a bit of rage bait to say from the river to the sea, Palestine will be free, you know, to call for intifada, to celebrate, to literally celebrate innocent Israelis being killed in a terrorist attack? No, apparently not. Apparently, though, it is triggering to see a Pakistani support Israel.
Tensions are pretty high, and we just saw you quite expertly intervene and calm someone down there. Can you tell us what you did?
We just saw what he did. He told him to stop. I hope he told him to take his mask off as well, because as I've said for, a year, literally a year at this point, if you're wearing a mask at a protest, you are obviously up to no good. Don't wear one.
Yeah, so he's just a young guy. Obviously, he's here, he's pissed off. He's seen the killings, he's seen the bombardment in Lebanon, he's seen the occupation in Gaza.
Oh, which bombardment of Lebanon was that? Was that the Lebanese bombarding Israel and managing to kill no one, or the much more successful bombardment from Israel to Lebanon? This entire year has basically been slow motion watching people be surprised that when you poke a bear, the bear mauls you. That's effectively what the past year has been.
Obviously, understandably so, he's quite triggered. But the thing is, obviously, he needs to understand that this isn't the way, this is exactly the emotion that they want from you. And the only way to create change is politically. We need to make change there, not here by shouting at people. That's not the way.
Man, I would love to get an in-depth explanation of what he wants to change politically, but at least he understands that, yes, don't be violent, that is bad. At least he knows that.
You're here a counter protest to a pro-Palestinian rally being held today. Why is that?
Well, I am pro-Palestine, but I'm also pro-Israel. I believe in every people having their own state.
I mean, fine, but I think most people geared into this argument kind of have to accept at this point that a two-state solution just doesn't appear to be able to work. How are you supposed to have a two-state solution when one side is so desperate to just have the single state? Again, you've got to bear in mind that the history of Israel in the 20th century was effectively, okay, here's our deal, then the other side fight. Okay, here's another deal, then the other side fight. And they just kept fighting until they effectively ceded most of their land. And now they're complaining that they just kept losing wars, basically. It's why I don't take them seriously.
But there was a ceasefire and no occupation of Gaza or the Lebanon on the 6th, 7th, 8th of October of 2023. There was ceasefire. Those countries were not occupied. Gaza wasn't occupied, Lebanon wasn't occupied, and yet there were unprovoked attacks by Islamist forces against Israel. And Hezbollah, a proxy of Iran, both organizations and states that want to hang gays, take away women's rights, put them behind the veil.
I mean, this quickly turned into a argument about values, which is fine if you want to have that argument. But yeah, she's absolutely right. There was absolutely no provocation to that October the 7th attack, which killed 1,000 people and caused hundreds of other to be captured as hostages. If you want to talk about provoked attacks, please can we talk about that first? Because this is why I just can't take anyone seriously when they're saying, oh, it's Palestine being provoked. Oh, are these protests? No, we're being provoked. Get out of here. That's not been true from the start. And it's to the detriment of this country that people still believe you.
I've been speaking to a lot of people here today, and they have also, condemned October 7th. It feels
These
like
guys haven't condemned 7th of October.
I mean, yeah, it's for the same reason that I just don't believe them. You would not be blaming Israel for their perfectly reasonable reaction if you genuinely condemned it. If you condemn something, you genuinely think it's bad. You think that was the wrong thing to do. If you are on Palestine's side in this war, despite October 7th, you haven't condemned it. Actions speak louder than words, effectively.
Obviously, what happened October the 7th last year was disgraceful. It was horrific, and that can't ever be justified. But in return, it's not possible to kill over 30,000 people, to displace the entire population of the Strip. It's just a completely disproportionate level of violence.
I'd love to know what this woman thinks Israel is supposed to do. What are you... Oh, it's a disproportionate level of violence. It was an act of war. If a country, if France, say, bombed even London, if France bombed London and killed thousands of people, I would be demanding a total annihilation of France. It's obviously reasonable that if you have a country you are neighbouring that wants your country wiped off the map, unfortunately there's no compromise to that, is there? What else are they supposed to do?
I mean, it's super important for Médecins Sans Frontières to be here because we've been working in Gaza for decades. We have up to 500 colleagues working in Gaza at any one time, our Palestinian colleagues. We've lost 6 of our colleagues already. We've had 6 of our colleagues killed by the Israeli military, and you can see them on our banner over there.
I mean, I am very, very sorry to hear that. Obviously, as I always say, collateral damage, I'm not defending it. I do not think innocent lives should be lost. I am saying it's just a reality of modern warfare. You go into a war zone, I'm afraid that is the risk you run. Again, though, I really don't see how you can blame Israel for just being better at war. Like, of course they're going to be better at war. That's why you shouldn't poke bears. They are better at killing you.
And all our other colleagues are displaced. Every day we're treating the wounded, we're receiving the dead bodies in our hospitals, and it's now been 1 year. This is the most exceptional violence maybe that we've ever dealt with in our lifetime as an organisation.
Yeah, it's a damn shame Hamas are insistent on carrying on this war as long as they can. It's not a good thing what they're doing. But again, the Israelis are being blamed for reacting to violence with violence and being better at it. I just don't have sympathy. That's it.
In this tiny strip of land, and it's just, for us, we just can't believe that there hasn't been a ceasefire after 1 year.
Yeah, I know, it's crazy how Hamas keep the hostages. I agree.
Anybody who believes in democracy and freedom and human rights needs to stand up against it, and that means taking sides and supporting Israel in the defense of their state.
I mean, it's a very annoying thing about the modern world. You have to have all the platitudes at first of all, if you're for democracy, for human rights, etc., then you should be on this side. When really, yeah, all it comes down to is, obviously Israel should be able to defend its borders, as every country should. That's about as far as the conversation needs to go.
I am a child survivor of the Holocaust of World War II. I think it's important to show that not all Jews support Israel. Quite the contrary. It's a very divided community. It's not a single community.
I mean, this is very much true, and I can never quite get my head around it, because Jews were directly attacked in a direct anti-Semitic attack, and this guy's a Holocaust survivor. And what Israel are doing is in no way comparable to anything that happened in the mid-century Germany. But I mean, if he wants to support Palestine, go for it, I guess.
And there are many Jews who are not religious or not supporters of apartheid, genocidal Israel.
Well, okay, but Israel is neither an apartheid state, nor am I willing to call it genocidal, so I'm also not too sure where the religious part comes in. I know loads of atheist Jews who are perfectly pro-Israel, for obvious reasons. They would be put in the group of people that would have to die.
The other, just the general point of simply expressing our support and sympathy for and solidarity with the Palestinian people.
I suppose this is where I wish that they were more clear. I am assuming he means the innocent people. You know, I'm assuming he doesn't mean the people that went over the border on October the 7th. But every time we have someone like this saying, oh, we're in solidarity with them, it feels like that really important point is always ignored, which I simply do not understand how you can complain about a war that's going on and not understand that actually there are various perfectly reasonable reasons that this war is going on in the first place.
And thirdly, to give a lie to the claim that these marches are no-go areas for Jews. We make it quite clear who we are, and we are always very warmly welcome. We never have any problem, and I think there's a great deal of love expressed towards us.
Yes, well, there was a group called the Association of German National Jews, who were Jews who supported the Nazis, who the Nazis were perfectly happy to use as a shield against claims of anti-Semitism at the time, and then Kristallnacht happened, and then the Holocaust happened, so, you know. I would be a little more informed on exactly the type of people and country that you are supporting.
Are you surprised that almost 80 years after the Holocaust, we're seeing what we're seeing happening in Israel and Gaza, and now in a wider regional war?
Are we shocked that there is still war after a mass industrial genocide? Do you know how many mass murders we've had since the Holocaust? The Holocaust was not the only example in history of mass industrial execution and extermination. Russia had gulags, China had the Great Leap Forward. You know, China's in the tens of millions of people killed in the name of communism. There have been many mass killings, and I find it pretty incredible that this question is being asked in the context of Israel are the ones committing apparently mass industrial genocide, which I simply reject. It is war. Worst of all, it was a war started by Palestine. Sorry, let me be clear, Hamas. As far as I'm concerned, every death that has happened since October the 7th is down to Hamas. Israel cannot be blamed for doing the only reasonable thing and putting a complete stop to anyone saying death to Israel.
Well, yes, I am surprised, and it's very painful to see, because I thought that would end all similar atrocities, but that's not the case.
What similarities are there between the Holocaust and what's happening in Gaza right now? They're not being put in camps to be exterminated. There are people at war. War isn't particularly pleasant. I can never understand what their expectations are beyond Israel should just surrender. Like, no other country in the world would take having thousands of their peoples killed lying down. You know, after 9/11, there was an invasion. I wonder why.
And it's particularly painful to see the people who suffered in the Holocaust and created, unfortunately, a sort of colonialist state, they themselves, in order to remain in power and maintain that dominance, descend into genocide and repeat the kind of pain that I witnessed during the Holocaust.
I just don't think this guy's caught up on his history, to be quite honest with you. The area of Palestine, Israel, whatever you want to call it, it was always pretty much colonised. It was either under control of the Ottomans until the Ottomans stopped wanting it, and then it was under British control. And then, yeah, we gave independence to Palestine and Israel, thinking, possibly naively, oh, they'll sort it out. And that ended up in quite a number of wars that Israel kept winning. Again, I don't blame the Israelis for being good at war.
I'm Palestinian and I'm half Lebanese, and my family is suffering. People in Gaza, I have cousins there, I have relatives in Lebanon. It is my duty, it's my part to do something. If I didn't do, I'll explode where I am. You know what I mean?
I mean, yeah, I suppose I can understand you being on the anti-Israel side when you're from the two countries that Israel are currently at war with, yeah. But it kind of begs the question, why was Hezbollah getting involved in this war that Israel was ignoring them for? Again, I don't have much sympathy, because why would I have sympathy for someone who poked a bear and got killed? Okay, I have sympathy for the innocents, obviously, but again, I put the blood purely on Hamas's hands, and Hezbollah's hands in the case of Lebanon. And then, hell, these enemies of Israel are so bad at killing them that when eventually Iran directly got involved and fired a whole bunch of rockets at, I can't remember if it was Jerusalem or Tel Aviv, somewhere in Israel anyway, the Iron Dome worked perfectly well. No Israeli was killed, but one of the rockets shot out the sky, landed on a Palestinian. If you haven't seen the footage, it's pretty grim. But amazingly, Iran fires a whole bunch of rockets at Israel, not a single Israeli killed, but one Palestinian was. I mean, if that just doesn't summarise the entire issue with the Middle East, I don't know what does.
Palestine is everything to me. I'm a human first, looking for what's happening to our children, our families, our elderly people, for everyone, for our fathers, our mothers. I am a mother now. I can't handle see a child has been hurt a little bit.
I mean, yeah, once again, I get all that, but God, I saw it on Twitter today. The video of a Hamas terrorist throwing a grenade into a shelter with a dad and his two boys, and the dad obviously jumped on the grenade to protect his boys. They still got damaged by it and wounded by it. And the Hamas terrorist just walks in, casually has a can of Coke from their fridge, and just basically ignores them. And I just can't help but think, look, this is the type of person you are tacitly supporting. Because this was the flashpoint that started the war. A terrorist attack on Israel. And it just feels like that always gets ignored. And it's impossible to ignore for those of us clued up on it.
Well, I hope those in Lebanon certainly get more help from the Foreign Secretary than my family got from the previous Foreign Secretary in the previous UK government.
I mean, Humza Yousaf is Pakistani, but his wife is half Palestinian. That's why they're in Palestine. And yeah, given she is half Scottish with a Scottish mother, obviously, I would be shocked if the British state was not doing what they could to try and get them home. But again, it's the exact same argument I have with everyone. It just feels really gross to me that they completely ignore the fact that, oh, why is Lebanon now involved in the war? Because they got themselves involved in the war by firing rockets at Israel. Like, what do you expect Israel to do?
What I would say is, look, people will try to escape Lebanon. But what we've got is a country that is on its knees because of the aggression shown by the Israeli government.
Fire rockets at Israel, poke the bear, get mauled, have Israel fire back. Oh, Israeli aggression, look at that. It's exactly like being in a schoolyard and you try and annoy someone so much until they start trying to thump you. And then you say, oh, look, you're instigating it. It's not even that. It's like you've poked them a lot. It's like the bear, as I keep saying. And it's just gross to me. It's always ignored. And it's gross to me that the Politics Joe interviewer, instead of trying to push in that way, they kind of just agree. Like with the Holocaust guys, like, oh, don't you think Israel's bad? It's not, well, Israel were attacked first though, weren't they? There's none of that.
What we've seen is innocent men, women and children being killed, not Hezbollah fighters. I mean, 6-year-old Noor Moussawi, who was lying in a Lebanese ICU unit with a fractured skull, she didn't fire a rocket into Israel, yet children like her are suffering.
I mean, I could bring up October 7th again, but once again, modern warfare, what do you expect? You made it, well, not you, Palestine and Lebanon made it total war. Are Israel just supposed to hang back and hope that the Iron Dome can last forever? No, of course not. It's not viable. It's not a long-term solution. Yes, everyone wishes kids were not killed in modern warfare, but they are. The only advice I can give is don't try and start wars. That would be my advice to everyone.
What we've seen is almost 365 days of children and innocent men and women being butchered. We've seen war crime after war crime being allowed to continue with impunity.
I mean, my God, man, were you calling for Hamas to be brought to The Hague to answer for their war crimes on October 7th? No, of course you weren't. Like most things, and let's be fair, this happens with Ukraine and Russia too, everyone in war seems to commit war crimes. Everyone. The only people that get done for it are the losers. And guess what? That's probably going to be what happens when Israel end up winning these wars. Because everything they have done, well, not everything, I don't know the details well enough, but retaliating to this terrorist attack and to these rocket attacks on their civilian areas, it is absolutely reasonable that they fight back. And they have had some of the most high-tech warfare I have seen, blowing up pagers and walkie-talkies used by it wasn't Hamas, Hezbollah. That's incredible. I've never seen that in my life. That is something you expect in like a near-future sci-fi film, but no, that's what we're seeing today. You know, it's not quite the futuristic Call of Duty Black Ops 2, which we're nowhere near even seeing any technology like that being properly put into the real world, given it was supposed to be based in 2025, which we're, 3 months away from? But still, again, you've poked a bear that's just going to completely outclass you. I have sympathy for the innocents, but ultimately this is innocent blood on your hands for being terrible when it comes to military decision-making.
Is Britain complicit in those war crimes you mentioned?
The UK government is absolutely complicit. We're selling arms to a government that has killed more women and children in the last year in Gaza than in any other conflict for the equivalent period in the last 20 years.
Wow, you mean Hamas using human shields ends up with a load of human casualties? Who would have thunk? If only Hamas could do something to bring about a ceasefire, something like release all the Israeli hostages that they took in that terrorist attack they did. That'd probably be a good idea to stop this war.
And our government somehow believe it's justified to sell arms to that government. I cannot for the life of me see how you could do such a thing morally, let alone legally.
I'd be kind of interested to see what he'd say if we weren't selling arms to Israel, but were selling them to Lebanon and Palestine instead. Because, as I say, everyone's committed a war crime here. But there's obviously no way he'd be complaining about it. In fact, he'd probably say, yes, give it them for free. That's probably what he'd be saying. But no, it's crazy. Like, oh, I can't believe they're selling it to an ally. I can tell why you only lasted as Scottish First Minister for about a year. Like most left-wing politicians these days, they're just embarrassments.
So my costume is a representation of what Keir Starmer is, which is a sausage. The man is our Prime Minister, but he can't even get on TV and speak properly. And that's how we know that the whole situation that the UK government, the Labour government and the Tory government did is just a joke.
I'm sorry, this woman's just all over the place. He can't get up, go on TV and talk. No, he is actually quite capable of that, to be fair to him. I think what she means is he can't bring himself to condemn Israel. Which, again, the reason for that is because it would be geopolitically moronic to do that. Israel is a useful ally to have in the Middle East. I don't know why people fail to see this.
And today I mock Keir Starmer like I do mock Keir Starmer every single day, because he is a sausage.
Man, this is going to bring down that Labour government, I'm telling you. It's going to be 2 years before the next election.
Last week, Keir Starmer said that Israel had the right to defend herself and that the UK stands with Israel. What did you make of that?
As a British citizen, as a British Pakistani Muslim, the UK does not stand with Israel.
I mean, yeah, it does. Hence, we're still selling them arms and giving them support in the Mediterranean.
Over 70% of the UK are demanding for a ceasefire, demanding for Keir Starmer to stop arming Israel. So he does not speak for us. He is not my government. He is not my Prime Minister. And the thousands that are around you here today, that proves that he is nothing. He has nothing to do with us.
What the hell are you talking about? Yes, he is. I don't want him either for much more sensible reasons, but he's still my Prime Minister. Unless you mean you're planning to move to Palestine and become a fully fledged Palestinian citizen and renounce your British citizenship, but I doubt you mean that.
Fuck them all. Fuck. It is not a human being. They are following agenda of the Zionists, not following the humanity. There is a business there. There is a gas. Fuck them all. I don't care.
I mean, I used to think it was a bit hyperbolic, but I'm pretty much on this train now. When people say they're anti-Zionist or go on about Zionists, you can pretty much just interchange that with Jew. Or at the very least, Israeli. And as far as this woman's reaction goes, I would not be shocked if she was saying, kill them all, if she thought she could get away with it. But she knows she can't, so she's just saying, F them. Which, if that's her opinion, that's her opinion, but, it's these type of people I don't particularly want in the country. Why should the British people stand those who... Oh, she's completely foreign. As she said, half Lebanon, half Palestinian. Why should we stand them coming here to shout in the street, F Zionists? Which, as I say, I used to think this was a bit far-fetched, but I really don't after a year. They are still going on about this war and pretending October the 7th never happened. As far as I'm concerned, yeah, she is for killing Zionists, or Jews, as I say. And that is definitely not the type of attitude people in Britain have ever particularly had. Even the British Union of Fascists didn't want extermination. And, perhaps I am being too uncharitable, but I've seen so many examples of people using it as a veil that I just automatically translate it in my head now. Like, sorry if that's uncharitable, but I've seen too much of it. Anyway, that was Politics Joe covering the Israeli and Palestinian marches in London this weekend. Insightful from the general public as usual. As for Shilling, tonight it's going to be Tosh Talks. We'll be talking about why being right-wing and anti-Farage is stupid. Tomorrow, no stream, sorry, because I'm on Thursday, I'm going to be reviewing Teeth for Double Feature Horror Show on Proper Horror Shows channel, so catch me over there. You will see the notification on Twitter if you follow me. And then Saturday we've got Laughing at the Guardian, so look forward to that. But with that is everything I had for you for today. Please subscribe, become a member, send super thanks, all that good stuff. And once again, thank you very much for watching, and until next time, goodbye.